Hello and welcome to the CRM Zen Show, where we talk about all things Zoho. This is episode 100, the Centennial Special, recorded on Friday, June 26, 2020. From Zenatta Consulting, I'm Brett Martin.
And I'm Tyler Colt. And before we get on into the news here, we should explain, for those watching on YouTube, you'll notice our pseudo-Hawaiian shirts and tropical backgrounds. We wanted to do something special for episode 100 here, and Brett and I are not exactly the most creative in the bunch, so we kind of put a poll out to the team. One of our developers, Josh, I think it sarcastically suggested a Hawaiian special, but we took it totally seriously and are now coming to you live from Hawaii.
Here you go. Here you go. We do anything to keep our employees happy.
With that said, let's get right on into the news.
So Zoho Forms has added SMS notifications, and they give you a couple of ways that you can do these. You can do the SMS notification templates for all records when they're added or updated, or you can use form rules to send a message if a condition is met. So pretty nice. For some reason I thought this was there, but I guess it wasn't. But I can see how this is really going to be useful.
And they've been working a lot on the general workflow logic inside of Forms. I know they kind of redid that whole system a couple months back, kind of made it a lot easier to use and more powerful. A couple extra different types of workflows that you can include on submission of these forms. And so now, it's pretty much across the board. You can make, mail merge documents, Zoho sign documents, trigger emails, trigger SMSs now. So it's a really powerful tool to kind of shoot out those confirmations or follow-ups following someone, filling out and submitting a form.
Yeah, the form team, kudos to them. There's kind of been nonstop development on this. And this is just another, we've been seeing SMS slowly make its way in. And I will tell you, the supported gateways on here are SMS Magic and Cliq and Twilio. And we've used all of them. And for, I think, pure power and ease of use and pricing, I think we recommend everybody look at the Twilio for this, because the Twilio integration is just great and super inexpensive. So worth taking a look at, I think.
Absolutely.
And then the Zoho Creator team has given us a massive update as to a whole bunch of things that are going to be coming out in June, have come out in June, coming out in July, coming out in August. There's over 10 different updates here. So really checking out what the creator team's done here, but they really want to know, there's just so much here. It's just hard to kind of cover it. I don't know if there's anything that kind of jumped out at you as like a major update that's rolling out.
Yes, there's kind of a lot of updates across the board. So different ways to create PDFs out of Creator. You can now bring calendar reports into embedded pages, right? Which is kind of nice, because generally when you have a Creator app, you want users to be looking at pages. It's kind of the most useful way to engage with a Creator app. Looks like they're kind of rolling out the ability to do domain changes as well. This one I think is a little bit more in the future, not quite rolled out yet, but being able to actually white label and map a domain to your specific Creator app, which is definitely nice to have. You can give your team kind of a friendly looking link to access the application. Kind of a lot of quality of life updates across the board. One that's kind of sneaking in here is you're only able to edit 1,000 records at a time. That's going to be an update they're rolling out here. I think you used to be able to update more. I think what they're seeing is some issues with doing those types of mass updates, so they put in the control there to prevent you from doing so. So it's a little bit of a downside, but it'll save you from possibly making some errors in your data if you're doing those types of mass updates.
Seems Zoho has trouble with that across the board on all their applications. They really don't like, any kind of mass updates to run for more than 1,000 records, and especially when you're looking at triggering workflows or doing other kind of things. They're really, it's almost little. You almost need to run cron jobs in the evening to get half this stuff done. Sometimes if you're doing mass updates, because it's just not gonna happen natively anyway in a lot of cases. And then also Zoho had some updates to both the Zoho Sprints and Zoho Backstage. And in both of these, it's really around enabling roles and profiles and sprints and roles and privileges, they're calling it in Zoho Backstage. Same thing, really. And the ability to basically limit what people can and cannot do in both of these applications. Almost every other Zoho application has this ability already to manage team roles and do those kind of things. So this is some nice updates that I'm not sure. I guess both of these would definitely need it. So it's nice to see that they put these in.
And in general, kind of what they mean by roles and profiles across the board. I guess privileges for Backstage are kind of breaking the norm there. Is basically a role is going to determine what you can see. So in sprints, maybe if you're in a specific role, you can only see different projects or sprints that you're directly assigned to. And then generally profiles are going to determine what you can do. So am I able to create a new epic in a sprint or delete a task in a sprint? And then on the other end on Backstage, can I create a new event, right? Like that's not something that, you might want to allow every single user to do. So being able to kind of control and manage those permissions at a more granular level is pretty necessary functionality. So it's definitely good to see those in these two applications, especially as we see, so much work and improvement going into Backstage. You need these types of permissions to be able to securely run an event and have a lot of different hands in the cookie jar at the same time.
Yeah, you really do. And I will tell you, Zoho, pay attention here. Let us get our naming conventions the same across all the applications. It's just so, so, so important. It's giving someone a tour of the financial suite, and the fact that, things are called products over here and they're called items over here. Yeah, they're called estimates in one place, and what's the other
quotes
name?
In another,
and quotes in another place, and they're exactly the same thing, and they've got to get it together. And then it's getting really, really weird because they used to have dashboards inside the CRM, which they've now renamed analytics, which is not analytics, and people thinks it's analytics. And there's so much here where it's kind of like, okay, guys, this is not hard. Make things, give things the same name. It's either roles and profiles. That's how it is across all their other applications. Privileges is this new thing that they put into Backstage. I mean, it's just
the irony of it here is that I actually think privileges is a better name for it.
Probably.
Because
it is.
What they mean by when they say profiles in any of the other apps is what that account is privileged to do. Do you have the, privilege to delete a record? Right. So I almost think it's a good name change, but it should be everywhere, right? Because, and once it's one of those things where once you know, right? Once you know that a quote in the CRM is an estimate in books, it's all fine, right? You're gonna work it into your workflow, but it just means anytime you hire a new person, you have to explain that to them. And, when you're new using the product, you have to learn all these little oddities about what name to expect depending on where you're looking at things.
Yeah. And for the longest time, they couldn't make up their mind what to call an opportunity. So you have potential, opportunity, and deal. And it seems to depend. I think depending on what version you get right now, you'll get either, is it opportunity and deal now? Are those the two?
I believe most of them default to deals nowadays.
But I believe that, is it CRM Plus that still is opportunity?
I think so. But the interesting thing about it too is that they, when you're writing any types of scripts, you refer to the API name, which is kind of the name behind the scenes. And those are spread across the board too. So you'll have, you'll come into a CRM account where it's called deals, but the API name is opportunities or potentials. Right. So on the back end, they're stored seemingly randomly between those different modules. Or sometimes you'll go in and it'll be opportunities, but the back end or API name is deals. So every time when you go in and you write a script and you want to, ping or update a deal record to get any info or update any info, you always have to check because you don't really know which API name it's going to have on the back end. And I understand those are harder to change, right? They don't want to go ahead and do a mass update and change everyone's API names. Like you can't do that because you're going to break everyone's functionality. But by changing the names over and over, they've kind of put themselves in a situation where, it just makes it a little bit more tricky.
Small little decisions, because the fact of the matter is you can change that name that everybody in your organization sees to anything you want it to be. Mm-hmm. And so, they didn't really need to change all of the different API names because there's just no reason. So for those listening, if you're confused, don't worry. We are too. Sometimes these naming conventions just, it's crazy. Let's write that one down. That could be our next show title. If you're confused, we are too. there you go. All right, and moving on with the news, we have Zoho Vault have their Safari extension is now available in the App Store. So this has been in beta for a while, and so a lot of people, if you're a big Safari user, you already have this. But this is now officially in uh, the Apple application store. I think it's called the App Store if you're on there. If you're on OS X, the Mac, or what do they call it now? Macintosh OS, Mac OS. So if you're on Mac OS, you can go ahead and get it directly from the App Store, which is where they keep all their extensions. And it's nice. They've just, it's basically the same extension you would see that they've had in Chrome for a while. And it's nice to see that they're keeping up to date with the other browsers.
Yeah, especially with all the different updates coming out to Zoho Vault, the whole new UI, all the additional sharing permissions. The key with a lot of these plugins, though, is that no matter how good they are, they're much more usable if you have a plugin in your browser, right? They can kind of detect what page you're on and suggest the autofill for it. So having well-functioning extensions is pretty key. It's one of the main reasons that we've always used OnePass, is that, at the end of the day, all these password applications, they do basically the same thing, right? You can set up folders, you can save your passwords, you can define what web page the password's used on. But the big difference is always in the UI and the usability. So having well-made extensions really makes the application a lot more powerful. It's just so much easier to get your passwords where you need them.
It does. And, it's one of those things too, where, these extensions are so important. I mean, the main reason I think we default as a company to Chrome is just the number of extensions that are written for it. And if there's anything that's made it the number one browser out there, it's just because of all the extensions that are out there. And I know Apple's trying to make it a little easier to get these extensions all ported over to Safari. They tout their security and all that. But Zoho's done a good job of trying to make extensions across the board for all of them. So it's been pretty nice. And then you now have custom color palettes for Zoho bookings. I would have preferred that they work on actually how the meetings go out and some of those kind of things. But to give them credit here, this is super, super, super nice. You can set your entire page background and just customize the transparency of it. And they give a lot of examples. If you're watching this on the video, I mean, really, you can customize Zoho bookings very, very nicely for your business. We have not looked at this in at least 4 or 5 weeks. I just don't know if anything's changed. I've used it. Zoho is adopting it heavily now. But the fact of the matter is, it's not supporting Zoom yet. It's not supporting, any of the major ones. And meetings still got some issues, but there's a lot to take a look at here. I mean, Zoho Meetings currently is on our no list, or Zoho Bookings is on our no list, as is Zoho Meetings, just because there's just too many issues. This is such a mission critical kind of thing that you can't be screwed up. People need to be able to book a meeting with you. It needs to work. They need to get the invite. It needs to go on their calendar. It needs to go on your calendar. The meeting links need to be proper. They need to be readable. Everything just that you would expect in a booking software needs to work. And then when you do that meeting, the meeting connection needs to be good and solid. And none of those things are occurring in either of these two apps right now. They're close, and they've been close for a very long time. But I gotta say, this is great, man. This is really
backgrounds. I mean, they're calling it a custom color palette, but it's a whole lot more than a color palette. You're able to make basically landing pages. I mean, if you're familiar with applications like Unbounce, right, where you can kind of drop in a full HTML background and kind of embed the form on top, that are really designed to encourage interaction, right? So if you had some type of pay-per-click ad running and you routed them to one of these booking pages as a landing page, like, you could totally do that now with the amount of customization you have. So don't be fooled by the name of the article that it's saying just it's a custom color palette. It's a full branding tool that they've really rolled out here so that you can really make your booking page look and feel exactly how you want it to.
Yeah, really good stuff. All right, and then we have more Zoho news. This is all around the CRM right now, but you have got Zoho CRM has done a complete revamp of their sidebar. And this is kind of nice. Now, the article is calling it that the need help section has been changed, but that's not the case. So if you are familiar with Zoho CRM, if anytime if you want to access help, but if you also want to access the management of your subscription or the management of your account or any of those kind of things, you basically will click on, if you've uploaded your picture, you'll click on the picture of your head in the upper right hand corner. Otherwise, it's just got a silhouette. You click on that, And you access a menu that's really been relatively unchanged for years, except in CRM Plus, where basically I think we have the CRM Plus version now, is what this kind of looks like. And it's really nice. It's just a really nice kind of reorganization and definitely a nice cleanup across the board of, of that whole section. So all about managing your account, that's there as well. But then you also have that, the whole need help section is kind of broken down in its own little area. So it's nice. And you can do more with it. You can chat, email them, look at their resources, get a demo, set up a phone call, go into the community, talk to their experts. It's nicely broken down. Well done.
Yeah, I think it's they're going across the board, it seems like, in the CRM and just giving it a little modernization, kind of across the board. So when they did the whole UI overhaul, we'll talk about it a little later, but they've been tinkering with the fonts, now updating this. I think they kind of have heard some of the critiques over time that the CRM is a little plain looking, and a little bit behind the times in terms of UI. So a lot of these updates are kind of just bringing it up to speed with a lot of best practice design. And I think this little sidebar is definitely a step in that direction.
Yeah. And they are selling their support tiers now. So, you've got your premium support tier, which is an additional 20% of your overall license fees. And then their enterprise support tier, which is 25% of your license fees. I'm going to recommend that you, if you really want a support tier like that you figure out what that's going to cost you and you reach out and you talk to somebody like us at Zenatta or any of the other quality partners out there. I think you can get better support for the same price. And then also, this is really kind of an odd, but they dropped out 4 different posts around a complete roundup of everything that they've done with every update they've done to Zoho CRM. So I don't think we have actually covered virtually all of these on the show at some point in time, or they're kind of things that are out there that we've looked at, but there's a lot here. And, if you want to take the time, we've got all the links in the show notes and you can kind of go through all these, but there's in 4 separate sections. We could probably spend a whole show just kind of going over all these again. But I don't know, did anything, before we move on from this, anything in these 4 jump out at you?
Yeah, one of the ones that I think it's in part 1, is one of their updates in what they're calling analytics now, or dashboards. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see my dog butting into the screen here. But so they've added the cohort analysis, which is actually really nice. So it's a really, really customizable way to see different trends and traits of customers or different users. There's kind of a whole bunch that you can do with these cohort analysis plots. So you can, for example, you can kind of break down like different types of dates, for example, of when was a deal created, what was our close rate on those deals over time, how long it took us to close based on these different groupings. So there's a whole bunch of different things that you can do in here that are super, super powerful, and they're cross-module as well. So I could say, maybe I want to make a cohort based on different users, and I can see how many leads they've created, how many leads they've converted, how many deals they've created, how many deals they've closed. And they're very, very customizable. So I've been kind of playing around with these with a couple different clients, specifically kind of on user tracking on their different interactions, because you can include so many different modules. Like each little column or chunk of your cohort analysis can be totally independent of the others. So it's not just like tracking, where all of our leads are at in the funnel. It's very, very, very customizable to be able to pull in data from multiple different modules and track it. It's a really nice little chart component that they've added that, I'd like to have this in Zoho Analytics as well, honestly, like the standalone app, because there's not quite a tool exactly like this where you can display your data in this way. And I found
it's kind of a strange
really,
thing,
really nice
because in order to get this data before, you had to pull it into analytics, period, but you could not display it this
quite
way.
Like this. Yep.
Right. So now you can, but you could never even get this data in any format in the CRM before, which is something people often ask for, but you had to pull it into analytics. And so, they're doing some really, really great stuff here, and they probably need to make a little more hay about it. Maybe we should give them some credit, but some nice stuff. All right, and in mobile app news, we have some this week. Zoho Desk, the iOS application for Zoho Desk, now gets full access to the knowledge base. This is pretty cool. So if you're actually providing tech support from the field on your phone and you're an Apple user, you can do so. You can now access the knowledge base while you're composing emails and view the knowledge base when you're inside tickets. So cool stuff.
Yeah, the knowledge base is just a super powerful tool because you have this whole bank of solutions, right, that your agents can pull from. So they're not having to kind of find these solutions every single time that they're getting these repeated questions. And then by linking out to the knowledge base, you're actually able to kind of train your customer to maybe look there first, right? Because you have this whole bank of readily available solutions for them. It's definitely nice to have that on mobile as, more and more customer support and sales is, using mobile as one of the primary channels for their team.
And then in other mobile news, in things that make Tyler and Brett go, So the Begin mobile application, which I did not know there was a Begin one, but it makes perfect sense. They've now added products. So you can actually add products and view products. And again, Begin is getting bigger and bigger and more full-featured and more full-featured. And gosh only knows where it's going to go.
This is an interesting one. This is an interesting one for us because before I saw this update, I didn't even know you had product management in Begin. They've really pitched it as this lightweight, kind of pipe drive style CRM, right? Where it's just lightweight, you're moving your cards across in these deals. It's not something where you're building crazy automations and crazy scripting. But it seems like for something that's designed to be a really lightweight CRM, like when would you be using a products table to do that? I mean, it's always made sense to have products in the standalone CRM because you've got quoting, you can make your sales orders. But with Begin, it's not really designed to do that. So it's a little odd they even have products in there, in the get-go.
It's strange in that it is, in fact, neutered in a lot of ways. There's a lot of things you can't do with it. But then we're starting to see all these other kind of things come in. And I still, for the life of me, cannot understand what this product's all about and why it exists. I mean, honestly, just take CRM and bring it forward with, let fix your Kanban views, and you basically are giving you what you've done in Begin, right? I mean, that's the deal. This is true. This is pipe drive kind of stuff. Pure pipe drive, which, by the way, in other news, which we're not covering here, the president of Zoho went to work for pipe drive as their president, which I think is really interesting. But I don't understand this product, Tyler. I don't. And I don't understand the logo. I don't even know what it means. It's like a couple of Ys. I don't get it.
It's supposed to be a little funnel, maybe.
It's a funnel.
Kind of like, but it's a little offset. Where it looks like the funnel kind of has a crack in it or something, which is what you don't want your funnel to have. But I mean, I don't want to, give it too hard of a time. They did a lot of things well in Begin. The UI is awesome. It's super nice to use, but it just feels like those are UI changes that could have gone to the CRM because that's the flagship product. It's what everyone's kind of using. So, we have customers that'll reach out and they'll say, "Oh, Begin looks great. Like, it looks so pretty and nice to use." But we have to tell them, you don't want to go that way. We've got all these scripts running. We've got these integrations running through CRM. Right. You can't really do all that same type of functionality over in Begin. So maybe they're using it as kind of
everything they've done. Everything in Begin needs to be in CRM, and it's all
that's
UI.
What they're doing. Maybe it's a triage center for some of those UI updates. They want to kind of test them out, get some feedback before they roll it out to the big boy CRM, which would make sense. They want to make sure that it's on track with what people want, but it just seems a little odd when some of the functionality there, it doesn't fit the product description of being a lightweight CRM when you're doing product management in there.
Yeah. And, look, the biggest complaint we get and the biggest thing we want is for true Kanban management, right? Even of tasks. I mean, that's one thing you don't even get that Begin. It's just deal. But I mean, if you look at all of the big Trello and all these others, these are task management boards, right? Mm-hmm. You can have deal pipeline, but they're also for task management. And when you go into the Kanban and CRM, you can't properly set it up for task management. I mean,
Yeah.
how nice to look at your tasks and see where they are and what their status would be. You really do have it very nicely over in Connect, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there just seems like we need to get part of Connect over here. We need to figure out a lot of these little things, but no one listens to us. You know why? Because we're in Hawaii and we're out of touch. We've got this 5-hour time zone difference, and it's a problem, Tyler. I'm telling you. Oh, man. All right. With that, this is pretty cool. This is our implementation of the week, and this ties off. This is one customer is giving us two things in 1 week. So we have a client that we talked about last week that basically wanted, to autofill addresses and do it. And so we talked to you last week about this, type ahead address lookup, which leverages Google Maps and pulls it in and automatically drops it into the record. But after the client got a chance and he looked at that for a while, he was like, nah, it's really not what we want. So Josh to the rescue. Josh did some pretty cool stuff here. So you want to tell us about it?
Yeah, so basically he found this service called Smarty Streets. That's smartystreets.com. And basically they are an API service, right? So there's a couple different services like this. I think we had an implementation in the past using a service called NumVerify to verify phone numbers, right? And figure out if they're a mobile or a landline number, right? And you can kind of ping them out via API and it returns you some data. So this is a service really similar to that, except it runs on addresses. So one of the nice things about this is that you can send an address either as a single field, right? Where you'd have the street, the city, the state, all kind of in one line, one address line. Or you can send it individual fields like, field for city, a field for states, kind of line item it out. And what it'll do is basically verify first, is that a valid address? Right? If it's not, it'll match it to the valid version of that address. It's kind of similar to like when you're placing an order online, and it suggests like, oh, is this what you mean for your address? And it's just slightly different, so it's looking at kind of the standard approved address formatting for what you put in. And then it will return you either the full address in one line or the address broken out. So it kind of has two different bits of functionality, right? Where I can send it that full address and it'll break it down for me in street, city, state, zip, again, all with the validated addresses, as well as actually doing the work of validating them for you to make sure that all the addresses in your system are, valid and accurate. So if you're doing any shipping or invoicing, you can make sure that you're sending these to real and valid addresses.
And it's free for the first X number or something like that.
It's 250 calls per month are free, and then 5,000 calls per month is $25.
Really cheap. Really worth having.
It's not bad at all.
And like you say, I loved the fact that it trues everything up, right? It basically, instead of California or Calif, you can everything's CA, and it really cleans things up that way, and that can be really important. So it's pretty cool. Give it a look if you're interested or reach out to us. All right. And then in things we noticed, we'll start with CRM again. This is a small one. And I wrote into Cliq. I said something about, hey, did the font change or is it just me? And you replied, yep, it changed. And so we put in here that the font changed. And if you're actually watching the video version of the show, I've got a side-by-side up. I went back to our January CRM overview webinar and I grabbed a slide from there. And then I pulled up basically the same sample slide from currently, and you can see these slight changes to the font. I do like this font a lot better though. I don't know why. It's much more pleasing to my eye for some reason.
Anyway, it looks like they made it slightly more bold, just slightly. And there's little tiny tweaks to some of the letters, that kind of it's just nicer. It's hard to describe, if again, check out the video on YouTube if you want to see the difference, because you've probably noticed this if you're a CRM user, but can't quite put your finger on what's different. That was kind of our struggle. Each one of us saw this independently and was like, is this different or am I just crazy, right? Like what's going on? And so it is slightly different and it's just slightly better. So it's a nice little update there, kind of across with all these different UI updates they've been working on.
Yep. And then a much bigger thing we noticed, something you noticed about records and related lists.
Yeah, so you may have noticed in your CRMs, and we've talked about it a couple times on the show, that updates from field updates or scripts are showing live now without a refresh, right? So for example, maybe you have a workflow where if a certain box gets checked, then a date is filled in automatically, right? And previously when you check that box, you have to refresh before you see the date, right? And now they've updated it where that date field will get filled in right in front of you. So you don't have to do any refreshing. But that was only running on the kind of module you're directly looking at. So I check a field in the deal and a field gets filled in that deal and I can see that update. Well, now what they've done is they've added that functionality to your related lists. And so I've only seen this run so far on the activities related list. I haven't really done a lot of testing with custom modules. But basically, we have a script for one of our clients where when a certain criteria in the deal is checked, 4 events are created. Basically an event for the client, an event for driving to the event, an hour for taking notes, and then an hour for driving back. It creates a little event block. And then we layered on a script where if you reschedule one of those, it will reschedule the surrounding events for you, right? So just a little quality of life thing. And I was showing it to the customer and I'd written the script probably on Tuesday. And when I was doing testing, I did not see this happening. And I showed it to them yesterday, which would be Thursday here, because we recorded this on Friday, and it changed in front of our eyes. Right when I did the update, all the different events, just right in that related list, updated right in front of us to the proper new dates. So they must have made this update just in the last couple of days, and it's really, really nice, right? Because we're so used to that happening on those sites, right? You don't really have to refresh to see changes on a lot of different websites that you visit on a day-to-day basis. And so they've been working on that, and I think they definitely know they've got to get that there. And this is just a super, super nice little quality of life improvement, so that when changes are happening via script or via field update, that they're happening without refreshing, right? Because that's one of the things that you'll see is a change gets made and you don't see it, right, when you expect it to be there. So you wonder, oh, did it work? Maybe it didn't work. And if you're not used to refreshing, which a lot of people aren't because it's kind of the standard now that you don't have to on a lot of sites, you won't know right away that anything happened, right? So it's a nice quality of life improvement. I would love to see them keep making these because so many of our implementations include scripts and field updates and things like that are manipulating data, and this just makes it so much easier to work with.
Yeah. And as much as we harangue them on some of this stuff, it's, they do all of these little things, and oftentimes there's never even a mention of it anywhere. There's no blog post. It's not in the community. It just kind of happens. They streamline it in. And like you say, nice little quality of life improvement. So kudos to the team for that one. All right. And then this week's reads, kind of going back to HubSpot here. They put this out this week. This is a blog post on everything you need to do to write a marketing plan. Now, normally these are kind of beginning year kind of things, and they always refresh these. But I feel like right now, so many companies, we need to rewrite our marketing plans. So much has happened this year. We have just been in crazy times, and we're heading in. If you would have asked me a week ago, 2 weeks ago, to said, okay, it looks like things are stabilizing here. So, we need to plan on what's going to happen for the second half of the year. But I don't even know now, as we're recording this, more things are getting shut down. Texas has gone into another pause. You're starting to see all kinds of craziness, but still, no matter what, you kind of need to look at rewriting your overall marketing plan. And so this is, it's an 11-minute read. It's the classic HubSpot. It's really, really well done. It's written by a gentleman by the name of Clifford Chi. He's got a nice Twitter if you want to go check it out. I looked at it. I put the link to that in the show notes as well. But he's done some really good stuff here. And you can download a complete template. So it's a super nice template, everything you need to put it together. But this is as always, your step-by-step guide to how to build your marketing plan. And they've got 8 steps to put this thing together and how to do it. And if you follow these, you end up with hopefully a pretty solid plan. Hopefully that can get you through the turbulent times ahead.
Yeah, and as always with HubSpot, just such high quality work that they do on their blog. Right? It's just week after week, I feel like we always lean on it for content, but there's they're such a market leader on so many of these different topics when it comes to content creation that it's hard not to want to share a lot of the stuff that they're putting out.
It's not a fluff piece. They don't do fluff. That's the thing, it's like really somebody took the time. This wasn't written in 3 hours for $250. This was written over the course of a week or longer with a lot of research that went into it. And it's so, like you say, so much of their stuff is like that. So, nice article, and I would suggest taking a look at that. And then over at Zenatta.com, we've got a whole bunch of stuff for you this week. We've got our blog is Simplifying Team File Management with WorkDrive, another article on WorkDrive we've done, really kind of detailed everything you need to do there, a nice step-by-step guide of your file management. And we talked a little bit about this last week, so I kind of like this blog and what we've done there as well. And we did our webinar this week. So over on YouTube, our Zoho Social Overview and Best Practices. I want to thank everybody that attended. It was different for us, Tyler, because normally our webinars run about 50 minutes in length, and then we cram in 10 minutes of questions. This one was a little bit different. It was probably about a 25, 30-minute webinar, and then we did about 15, 20 minutes of questions. So it was got a lot of questions there. There was a lot of really nice engagement with the audience. So, thanks for everybody. And next month is going to be on Zoho Projects. That is the winter chicken dinner, so to speak. So we'll be doing our July webinar on overview and best practices will be on Zoho Projects.
And then last but not least, also on Zenatta.com are our new updates to their resource guides. So we've been, as always, just scouring the internet, finding every little bit of useful content that we can find on the various Zoho apps. Then we aggregate all of that over in our resource library on the website. So we've got a couple posts here, one from Zoho Campaigns about setting up different roles and privileges. So we see actually, a little callback there. So they're called privileges in campaigns, not profiles. And then we have an update or a little guide from Zoho Vault about kind of how you can use it as an end user. So not quite the admin level and setup, but more like what it's like to use for your team.
And also for those of you listening, many people have had trouble getting to Zenatta.com this week. We are hosted over on Bluehost, and Bluehost is having issues, and we're hoping to resolve it with them this week. If I don't have it resolved today, then we'll be moving to AWS over the weekend. So bear with us as we're having major issues with our host. It's not like it's a tier 2 or 3 host. They're one of the major hosting services in the country, and it's unfortunate, but they're having some server issues, and it's causing us and our clients a lot of grief, and we apologize for that. All righty, and then our application of the week. This is kind of cool around social media. This is RiteTag, and it is a Chrome extension. It's $49 a year. Comes with a free 7-day trial, and it's really cool. So if you're writing a post, so you're about to post something on Twitter or you're about to post it on Facebook or wherever it is, you basically highlight the text, right-click on it, and have it do your tags. And what it will do is it will come up and it will tell you what words in there you should actually use as hashtags, and it's going to color code them for you. If it's green, it's going to help you get that seen immediately. If it's blue, it's kind of over time, long term. If it's gray, you can use that hashtag all day long, and probably nothing's going to happen with it. It's very low engagement on that. And if it's red, so many people are using it, the odds of you getting seen, are slim to none. So pretty nice little application. I played around with it quite a bit. I like it a lot. I think I'm going to buy it. And because I really did pull out some nice words and give you some kind of better ideas. It's a very interesting tool. And this company has got an entire slew of other products. I'd never heard of them before, but they seem to be the real deal. So if you're doing some social media, look, you spend the time, you write the blog post, you produce the video, you write the content around it, you get it posted up, then you do your social media posts, and the purpose of those posts is to drive traffic to whatever you're doing. Well, if no one ever sees your post, it kind of defeats the purpose. So this is just one of those other tools to kind of help you with your overall social media platform. All right, and then that takes us to our tip and trick of the week.
Yeah, so this is one coming from Cliq. Again, a tool that we talk about all the time. It's basically an internal chat, video call, and meeting tool similar to Slack. So similar, in fact, that you can basically export from Slack and recreate your entire setup inside of Cliq. But so they rolled out recently this remote work feature, which allows you to check in and check out, set your status all just directly inside of Cliq. And this little guide we have linked here is basically a little walkthrough of how to easily spin up group calls and team meetings directly inside of Cliq. You know, whether you're using remote work or you just want to spin up a conversation inside of one of your different channels. So it's really nice. I mean, you know, almost every single one of our internal meetings is run through Cliq. You know, it's so easy to be able to, you know, just send out a quick chat. Maybe a team member has a question. So rather than chatting back and forth, you just spin up instantly a quick call. You can screen share, and you know, it's just so much better than trying to just communicate all via text itself. And you know, then you could spin up a Zoom meeting and send that over, and you know, that would work too. But this is just one click away to be able to easily spin up a group call with video or just audio or however you like to do it.
And we have, I think, all of our groups kind of predefined already. So that's one of the nice things is that, you know, we've got a Brett Tyler Josh group and a, you know, the basic people. So there's, you know, a Wayne, Brett, and Tyler group, and you can have all your various groups. And so really it's just click on those and start the call. You know, you don't even have to build the group. So if you've already built all your various groups, just makes it so simple to do it that way. And look, we rave about Cliq. It's a great product. And by the way, the Zoho Remotely, I didn't put it in here, but they're extending now. That whole Remotely package is being extended for free now to September 1st. Originally
Nice.
it was July 1st. So, you know, and Cliq's part of Remotely. So give it a shot. Take a look at it. I think really good stuff and great product. And this is a nice little tutorial. If you haven't used Cliq, it's kind of our daily form of communication. It's our daily driver.
Alrighty, and that's a wrap for show number 100 here, coming from Hawaii, and definitely not just a Zoom background. If you've got any questions or comments, be sure to send them over to us at info@zenatta.com, or just head over to zenatta.com and drop us a line.
And on the website is where you will find complete episodes as well as show notes with links to the stories we discussed today. And you can also follow us on your favorite social media platform and subscribe to us on your favorite podcast app. We'll see you next Monday.